Welcome back. President Trump wanted an apology from Zelenskyy, and he might have gotten a version of one this morning. The Ukrainian president doing damage control on X, insisting he values how much America has done for Ukraine and is pleading to revive the economic deal that was on the table. The timing is interesting. The Trump administration announced it's halting all military aid to Ukraine, including aid promised under Joe Biden that hasn't been sent yet. Officials are insisting it's a temporary pause, not a full cancellation, but the message is pretty clear: negotiate or lose support from the United States. A White House official telling Fox, quote, President Trump has been clear that he is focused on peace. We need our partners to be committed to that goal as well. We are pausing and reviewing our aid to ensure that it is contributing to a solution. And Europe, well, they are finally waking up. The EU chief is proposing a plan to urgently boost defense spending by $840 billion. But they still have a long way to go there as well if they want to catch up to the United States. President Trump is going to address all of this tonight in his speech to Congress. And it certainly feels like there is a lot going on right now between the tariff conversation that we just had and the meeting with Zelenskyy on Friday and how that's progressed throughout the weekend and to the point that we are right now. Brian, they had this contentious exchange that we covered live. Then the White House basically says, we need an apology from you. You were disrespectful. If you even want to come back to the table. We're sort of getting half apologies. I haven't really heard a full I'm sorry just yet. And now this notion that the aid is going to be paused might get them to the table. At the end of the day, it's not about the tit for tat. It's really about a peace deal. So do you think that this is going to get us where we need to go?
I think what the Trump administration is saying, we want you to come to the table committed to finding a way to peace. And they don't feel like they've gotten that from Zelenskyy yet. I agree that X post was not an apology. It was, we regret what happened, which is definitely not an apology, even if you express a little bit of regret.
Your wife knows that.
Well, everybody knows that. It's the non-apology apology. Fine, you may not think Zelenskyy should give an apology. I think he should, so we can get something done. But can we just talk about, because we just kind of ran through that in the setup. Europe is saying, we're going to put $840 billion more dollars to work on our defense and our defense interests. Is that not a win? I mean, we have not seen that kind of money, that kind of increased commitment from Europe. That is a huge win that would not be happening unless we were having the conversation we're having. This is the president, the EU Commission president, okay? Europe is ready to massively boost its defense spending, both to respond to the short-term urgency to act and to support Ukraine, but also to address the long-term need to take on more responsibility for our own European security. That is a win to me.
I wonder if that is a win, because it feels a little late from, the European countries, and it also would maybe give Zelenskyy the feeling that he's got more support to not necessarily come to the negotiating table. Jerry, I'm wondering what you think about that.
But why wouldn't we want Zelenskyy to think he's got more support? You don't think Zelenskyy needs that support?
I think he had two bad options when he was going into the meeting with President Trump. I think he can't go it with only the support of Europe and not the United States in some combined force if he wants to continue to keep this war going. At the same time, they're in a situation where it's been, 3 years now?
Yep.
We're in 2025, February of 2025. There has been massive loss of life on both sides. There's been massive destruction. I mean, he's got to ask himself as a leader how long he wants to continue doing this if there is an off-ramp to negotiate.
Do you not think Vladimir Putin should be being asked that question?
Yeah, but is he not?
I mean,
No, I haven't heard a single word from the Trump administration saying that Vladimir Putin needs to come to the negotiating table, needs to rescind what he did over the last 3 years. In fact, we've been told by the president that Volodymyr Zelenskyy was responsible for the war in Ukraine, that he started the invasion, and that he's a dictator. So no, I think more pressure needs to be brought on Putin.
We don't really know what kind of pressure he's bringing on Putin. I mean, just because you're having a conversation doesn't mean you make every single part of it public. That's all I'm saying is we're making these assumptions about the relationship with Putin. You might be right, Jerry, but you might not be, because the Trump administration is trying to get people to the table, and the thing they do for one party is not the thing they do for for the other. They should have the leeway to be able to do that, don't you think? I mean, play it differently depending on who they're trying to get.
Well, from every Russian statement we saw, the Kremlin's press spokesman, I think just yesterday, saying that Russia now sees itself as aligned with the United States, essentially, in this and in a broader relationship. So again, yeah, I take the point. Maybe President Trump is being very upfront and open in his criticism of Zelenskyy, and for some reason keeping his criticism of Putin quiet. But we haven't really seen it. And I think when you're doing public diplomacy, which was a large part, which is what this is largely about, then I do think you need to signal to the world what it is you're trying to achieve here, rather than what it looks like, which is that they want Zelenskyy to surrender.
It would have been nice to have seen the United States vote to have condemned Russia, along with the rest of the world. I hear both sides here, and I think the mineral deal and expecting Zelenskyy to acknowledge what the practical reality is on the table, the fact that there has been loss of life. He doesn't have a good exit ramp out of this war. But marry that with some other type of more clear messaging on the global stage of where we stand, I think would have been nice.
I think what I'm confused about, Jerry, maybe you could help me out, is I'm hearing Zelenskyy to the Associated Press, was it 2 days ago, saying the war is far from over, we're nowhere near peace. And then today in the Expo saying we're committed to peace. And then we've said NATO's effectively off the table and we're not sending boots on the ground. But then the mineral deal, he said, I think in his ex post, I'll pull it up, he sees as a beginning for solid security guarantees. Now, I'm all for a mineral deal if there's a way to sort of repay the money that we have given them. But I don't think the American people want another Iraq or Afghanistan, where it's this forever war, boots on the ground, and they want maybe mineral extraction, but I don't think that's in exchange for an implicit security guarantee. What do you make of that?
Well, it's what President Trump said in his Truth Social post of the weekend. It was his position that by having a deal, a mineral deal, in which there would be significant numbers of American investment and indeed American miners and others on the ground in Ukraine, particularly in Western Ukraine, where a lot of these resources are, which presumably would remain Ukrainian after any ceasefire settlement. It was President Trump who said that would, in effect, represent an implicit guarantee, because Russia, he actually said it, Russia would be crazy.
Is that a good thing?
Russia would be crazy. Well, history suggests it doesn't really work. I'm old enough to remember when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait in 1990, where there were thousands of American oil workers who were working there. It didn't deter him from doing it. Now, thank God he learnt to his cost that was a very, very bad thing to do. So I'm not sure that's... it's an interesting idea that if the US has and I think there is a larger point there, which the president has, which is right, which is that if the US has a strong economic stake in a vibrant, free and independent Ukraine, that itself is something that will actually help to secure Ukraine's long-term peace. But I don't know whether a few miners, and by the way, I think this mineral deal is being way overstated. The numbers I saw said this might produce for the US $3 to $4 billion a year. Yeah. Well, that's going to be
it's a huge unknown
years before we get there. But let's say there was something there, but it's not going to it's not going to be enough, I think, of a guarantee that Russia won't invade again once it's regrouped and once it's, because this is what it's done repeatedly. I mean, Russia, the point that Zelenskyy was trying to make in the White House the other day is that Russia agrees to these deals, say, signs a deal, and then, of course, 6 months later, whether it was in Georgia, whether it was Crimea, whether it's the Donbass, it just invades again. So you do need something. He thinks he wants something, and it looks like maybe the Europeans will provide it. Maybe the Europeans will finally step up and provide the kind of security guarantee that the Ukrainians need. And, as we can all agree, that's a good thing.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have to leave it there.